yeah, let's get after it. We're gonna talk about streaking in semen retention. Not running around naked, guys. Don't get too excited. And I know some of the ladies out there, you're just like, man, I just want to take my titties out. Just run across the street. We're not talking about that. We're talking about your ability to retain long term. And firstly, in that discussion, we got to talk about this over attachment to days, because I think that's a byproduct just of the information culture that we live in. I was like this when I was younger. I would watch too many videos where it was, after 10 days, you're going to experience these benefits. 20 days, you're going to experience these benefits. 30 days, these benefits. And it was just like, it never ended. There was always another point of progress that was always somewhere off in the future. And I think that's more so where the obsession with days comes from in the first place, is you're still waiting for something to happen instead of embodying the higher identity of who you are becoming in the present moment. That's my viewpoint on semen retention, and that's what I teach here. I don't view it as something like you have to do this process, otherwise you're not going to ascend. You're not going to be the best individual you could possibly be. It's more so an understanding that sexual fasting or taking time away from something allows for a void to fill. And that void is something that you've been filling with pornography. It's been something you've been filling with masturbation, or if you partake in hookup culture. Nothing against that, by the way. I'm all fun. I'm good vibes only here. So like, if it's part of your path, then partake in it, but learn the lessons from it. So this is for the individual that is asking, hey, how can I hit like a 90-day streak? I saw that comment. And what I have to ask you is, are you more so worried about getting to a certain number in mind, and then you will somehow, like, there will be a shift that will happen and your life will magically change? Or are you going to be willing to release attachment of the ego to the version of yourself that had to masturbate in the first place? Because that's what counting days actually is about. Counting days is, you're still accepting that there is this pendulum, and a pendulum being this information system, an energy system that you can become an adherent to. And so on this path, there is all the way to, let's call it the left side, which is you are a perma-gooner. I'm talking about you wake up, you goon. You go and do anything throughout your day. You celebrate by gooning. You get home, you can't take a shit. You can't even watch a YouTube video or a TikTok without over-sexualizing something, and then you goon. You're giving too much energy, too much of your consciousness to the idea that this is a piece of who you are. It's an identity of yourself. On the other end of that would be the early onset of semen retention, where you know, hey, this probably isn't healthy for me. I probably shouldn't be masturbating all day, every day. I feel like less of a man. I feel like I'm not doing anything in my life. I'm losing all this energy, so I want to change, but at the same time, I'm going to count the days because I need to validate that I'm changing. And that's what the day counting is doing. It's validating that you're no longer partaking, but just by the act of counting days, you are validating that pornography, that addiction that you have, is still a piece of you. Because if it wasn't a piece of you, if it's not an identity that you are embodying, you wouldn't need to count the days, because it's not a piece of your conscious mind in the first place. That's the whole point of semen retention on this channel. It's not to become the guy that can go hundreds of days and you're counting every day and you got to pat yourself on the back because, oh, I didn't bust today. I had luscious thoughts, but I didn't bust today. It's about releasing that part of your identity that is attached to busting in the first place. Attached to, hey, I can't do this. I'm going to look down on myself. I'm going to have negative self-talk if I give in to these thoughts. It's just, it's a complete release because it's not who you are anymore. And so, like, after a certain amount of time, yes, this takes hold. This is why going on long streaks is really good, because it can help form a new habit. But more so, if you want to form a new habit and you want to have a long streak, you need to release the attachment to the day in general. You need to release the attachment to time in general. All you have is the present moment. And the question I want you to ask yourself is, in the present moment, are you giving way to these lower thoughts, these lustuous thoughts, and are you allowing them to have power over you? Are they a piece of you? Or have you come to terms with your sexuality? You're not going to get mad at yourself if you have sex. You're not going to do that. But you're not going to go out and chase sex. There's a huge, huge fucking difference. Okay? And that's if we're having sex here. If we're just doing porn and masturbation, we need to get past that first. That's the piece of the self where you need something that is gratifying you in the present moment, because you are in a state of lack. You feel lesser because you are not receiving that dopamine. You are not receiving that validation, that self-love that you're giving yourself in the moment. Because that's why we do it. You know, you bury it down for a long time. At least I'm speaking for myself. Where you're not worthy of love. You're not worthy of being validated within the bedroom by a woman. So it's very easy to get that sexual gratification by going online and masturbating. And then your body and your mind doesn't really know the difference. You probably have the little thought in the back of the head that's like, oh, I probably shouldn't be doing this, but it feels so good. It feels like love. It feels like that thing that I've been missing and I've been refusing to give to myself. And going back to a video I filmed prior about alchemizing your nuts, if you want to look it up, it has me with peanuts in my hand, jiggling them around. And this is the true power of semen retention, is when you start to re-identify and reclaim your sovereignty over your sexual energy, you have this realization that all that discomfort that you feel when you want to go masturbate, when you want to go watch porn, it actually is God calling for you to create something. You can create something by dissipating your energy via masturbation. That is a form of creation. So is sex. You have to reach out to somebody. You have to have them come over. You have to have a conversation. There's a level of charisma that goes along with it. There's a level of game that goes along with it. The act of having sex is an art form. Okay? So that is a form of creation. But when you retain, when you fast from partaking in sex, now you have all that excess sexual energy that needs to be channeled into something. So part one of getting a long streak is the understanding that counting days is just reaffirming the presence of the pendulum of sex to you. It's a piece of you. And you don't want it to be a piece of you. Okay? It is something that we do as humans, but it is not something that I want for anyone to have control them. So that's when you need to hands off, release attachment to the pendulum, which is just sex. It's PMO. It is masturbation. It is going on the apps like Tinder or Hinge or whatever it may be, and you're seeking. That is adherence to a pendulum. When you are seeking this outlet for your sexual energy, that's when you're a piece of the pendulum. When your release of your sexual energy in the form of sex with another person is natural and is a byproduct of you being yourself and of just living your life, that's when you've mastered and transcended the pendulum. When you don't have to seek out sex, sex seeks you. So, first step is, firstly, stop counting days. Ask yourself, journal about it, I highly recommend journaling, and do it as if you've already conquered your sexual addictions. So always state to yourself that, I am creating, and then whatever your desires that come to you, whatever your dream is, write it as if you're already doing it, already partaking in the actions, even if it feels scary. Your ego is always going to try and keep you stuck. So your ego wants you to goon. Your ego wants you to keep drinking. Your ego wants you to keep vaping. Your ego wants you to keep smoking weed. It wants you to keep consuming endlessly. So fasting, whether semen retention, fasting from food, fasting from anything that is consumption, is going to retain energy that now you can alchemize, which is taking that lower sexual energy that is usually dissipated and transferring it using conscious thought into creation. You no longer have to count days. You do not have to count days because your identity has shifted. You are no longer somebody that is submissive and controlled by your sexuality. Instead, you use your sexuality in your art of creation, whatever that may be. I'm not saying you have to be a musician. I'm not saying you have to be a baker. You don't have to be a painter. You don't have to make videos online. You don't have to do any of that. This is just how you carry yourself, how you dress, how you act, how you perceive not only yourself, but the world outside of you. Can you bring your internal jazz to whatever event you're a part of, whatever opportunity comes your way, whatever encounter it is? Can you jive? Can you dance with life? Can you fuck life? And when you start fucking life, now you're using your energy for that, and you don't even want to dissipate it anymore. You're not even thinking about porn anymore. You're thinking about how amazing your life is, all the things you can create, all the desires that you've manifested in your life. And manifestation, by the way, is a byproduct of embodiment. So when I say that, what I mean is, if you have a desire in mind of the version of yourself you would like to be, you start acting, embodying that version in the present moment. As you embody that version of you, your energy is aligned. It is in resonance with that higher identity and the things that go along with that higher identity. You don't manifest by constantly just thinking about the things that you want. You manifest by becoming the version of you that already has them. And that allows the universe to give them to you because now it's in alignment with who you are. Okay? So do me a favor, if you have been counting days, stop counting the days, and every time the thought, because I've done this, whenever the thought comes to you of, oh man, I got to know what day I'm on, I got to know about the benefits, ask yourself, why? Why do I have this obsession with it? Is it because something inside of me, something in my subconscious is telling me that I'm going to fail? Is this just trying to trigger me into gooning again? Is this trying to trigger me into old sexual practices by counting the days? Is this actually something that is in alignment with the identity that I'm shifting to? And I promise you, when you start asking these questions, the answer you're going to get back is the higher identity that you want to be, the one you want to embody and live your life from, is not the same version of you that needs to count days right now. The counting of days is like a little sign from the universe that, hey, you have excess energy, but you haven't been transmuting it. So you're probably still having an over-attachment to your sexuality and the gooning in general. And that is making you want to count the days. It's making you think about it too much. And when you're lost in thought, you can't really get anything done. Like, it's much more difficult to just live your life naturally and let it flow for you, because you're still living from that old identity that your ego created. The one that is a gooner, the one that watches porn. You're still fighting that old identity. Detach, re-identify, embody live from that, and then when you do have sex again, you're not going to have to chase it down. It is going to just be a natural byproduct of you being the best version of yourself. Okay? Say hi to Mr. Pupper. Huh? Love you guys. Adios.